Hi, I wanted to share a little bit about vegetarian food or vegan food available in Southeast Asia, primarily Thailand, Malaysia, and Singapore. Out of these three countries, I visited Malaysia first, Singapore second, and Thailand third. Out of these three countries, I found that Singapore was the most vegetarian and vegan friendly, but you must not take Singapore to be an actual country because it's just a city. So, yes, it's a big city and the most expensive city in the world. So, it's little surprising that they have sufficient vegan and vegetarian options. At least one or two items on the menu are pure vegetarian in Singapore when you go anywhere. Usually, that is the case. In Malaysia and Thailand, vegetarian options are very difficult, especially depending upon where you're going. So, for example, in Malaysia, I went to KL and Langkawi. Now, both KL and Langkawi had Indian restaurants. But the issue with the food is that, firstly, if you've gone all the way from somewhere, and I'm from India, so if you've gone all the way from India to Malaysia, you wouldn't want to eat Indian food again, right? You'd probably like to try the local food. But the issue with the local food, and this is for vegetarians, okay, if you're non-vegetarian, you're in paradise. But for vegetarians, it's a very difficult. You will face a lot of problems when you're wanting to eat quality vegetarian food. Okay. Now, how it works and why it's like this is that I don't think there is a concept of people eating vegetarian food in these countries. People just don't eat. People just eat stuff which has meat in it, and they don't think it's uh, different. And whatever vegetarian food you do find, it usually tastes very bad, unless it's some good restaurant or something. Some rarely you'll find some good restaurants, but very bad. It tastes horrible. These people just don't know how to make vegetarian food. That's just the case. In Malaysia, I there are these restaurants called mamaks, Mamak, mamak, and these mamak restaurants are the ones open 24 hours a day. Sometimes you may find some roti and dal and something like that, but other times you will find almost everything is non-veg. Everything has either chicken, mutton, beef, or something like that. And if one or two token vegetarian items, you can ask for the same thing. For example, noodles without meat. You could ask for that, or you could ask for some. You can ask for some vegetarian alternative, but usually it doesn't taste good. And even if it does taste good, uh, the price is usually much higher. So I ordered many times vegetarian noodles, but the vegetarian noodles are almost tasteless. I found that is the case. So what do you do? What do you do in these cases? So I'll just try to give you a little bit of what you can do. If you are going on a short trip and you don't want to, you know, and you're willing to eat the food like packed food or snacks or something like that. So I met this Gujarati Jain couple in Thailand, and they were actually carrying all food that they brought from home because they have more restrictions. It seems that Jains can't eat food that grows below the surface of the earth, so they can't eat potatoes and things like that. I don't know exactly what it means, but what I know is they were carrying food with themselves because it was very difficult for vegetarians to self. And if you are a very special kind of vegetarian, like maybe a Jain, or if you are a vegan, then it's all the more difficult for eating these kind of foods. Furthermore, there are Indian restaurants available, but you must keep in mind that everything is super expensive when you eat at these Indian restaurants. It is easily 3 to 4 times the price of normal stuff. So if some street food would cost you, 100 rupees, this Indian restaurant food will cost you 400 rupees. That's the price that it is. And You will find Indian people only at these restaurants mostly. You'll rarely find Indian people at other restaurants. That was my observation. Uh, I saw most white people, Chinese people eat at other restaurants, but Indian restaurants you find mostly Indians, and primarily because there are a lot of vegetarians in India. I think India is the only country which has so many vegetarians by religion, by default, or whatever it is. There are not so many vegetarians across the world. So in Malaysia, if you're eating, there are also some vegetarian Indian restaurants available in KL and Langkawi. Savana Bhavan is one such restaurant. In Little India, you can find quite a few such restaurants. They're affordable in KL, but in other places they aren't, and you probably don't want to go only to those places if you've gone all the way, right? So that's a little difficult all the time. Next is in Thailand, and if you're a vegan, let me just remind you and tell you a little bit. So I've met a couple of vegans on the trip, and if you plan to stay vegan, it's extremely difficult for you to continue on the trip. You hardly find any food that is vegan. There are like one vegan restaurant in like far away, so it's very difficult if you're vegan. So there's this one girl I met that she was also a vegan, but she dropped the vegan part and she was just eating vegetarian food whatever she could. And there are some vegetarian things available in the cuisine, but you must know what to ask for, which as a foreigner it's quite difficult to find out. Primarily, if you look at the menu, everything will be in that local language, so you don't understand what is written. So for example, they say nasi goreng, mi goreng. So I think nasi goreng is fried rice, mi goreng is fried noodles, and something like that. So nasi goreng lemak is something like chicken. So if you ask for veg, I don't even remember what's it for veg, but if you ask for with nothing on it, in India or these countries where vegetarian food is tastes good, they create a vegetarian patty, right? Some kind of vegetarian patty will be available, and they'll create it, and they serve it to you. But in these places, that's not the case. They just give you without any add-on or any topping, so that becomes difficult. In Thailand, if you're on the street, you can have some coconut ice cream, which is completely vegan and vegetarian. Pad Thai is a local street food available in Thailand. You can ask for it to be without any meat, and they'll make it without any meat or without any egg. That's one option. And there are these pancakes and things available on the street, which is also good food. So if you're a vegetarian and you don't want to starve yourself, and if you're going for any of these island tours or some tours which are offering free buffet lunch or buffet dinner or something, please remember there will be hardly any vegetarian food. Even if there is, it is going to taste absolutely horrible. So don't expect that just because it's a buffet or just because it's something, the food is going to taste good, which it is definitely not going to taste good. All right, I have been through it, and probably other people have also been through it. I don't know, but even though I have seen a lot of people go, I didn't uh, I didn't hear from anyone about like, quality stuff. But if you're a non-vegetarian or if you have friends you're going with and they're non-vegetarian, you'll often end up fighting because not fighting in the traditional sense, but you would have to go to some vegetarian place and they would prefer to go to some other non-veg place or a place which serves both. And uh, if they go to a vegetarian restaurant which also serves vegetarian, they'll have to shell out more money. That's the complaint of a friend of mine who was coming with me. So that's one thing that you have to keep in mind. And so that's all. Just hope that it helps you. And if you're going for a short trip, just carry some stuff so that you don't starve. And even the lays and the local chips, things like that you get, they are also in like meat flavored. So cup noodles, that's also meat flavored. You will have to search, like dig really hard to find some vegetarian stuff, even in the packed foods. So it's a little difficult, yes. Okay, so be careful. Have fun, but if you're a vegetarian, you need to Yeah, be careful a little bit. Yeah.